Hello, it is I, Paige, back with my emotional support drink, here to unwind my mind with y'all. Okay, that was really jive. I'm sorry for that. But hi, it's been a minute since I feel like we've just sat down and had a little chit chat about what's going on in my brain, considering that is pretty much what this channel is kind of about most of the time. I mean, yeah, I give you guys advice or helpful tidbits and stuff like that, but for the most part, this is straight up just whatever I'm got going on in my head and whatever I think you guys might like to hear. So I don't know necessarily if this video hits the latter, but if it does, awesome. If not, hopefully you're okay with just listening to me talk about some strange mental health things, spiritual awakening things, metaphysical things that I've been experiencing lately that are just worth talking about, honestly. So what I really wanted to dive into today is this random daily feeling I get of just complete existential dread. And I don't know how many people can relate to that, honestly, but hopefully this video finds the people that do, because the thing about it is I don't understand it. I literally don't get why I randomly every single day of my life just get this deep rooted feeling that's it's claustrophobic in a way. I just can't even okay, let me gather my thoughts on it for a second, because it's truly just kind of unexplainable, and I'm here to try to explain it. I guess the best way to explain it, or rather similar feeling to explain it, would be if you've ever gone camping and it's been hot outside and kind of muggy, and you don't have any kind of fan in your tent, and you wake up in the middle of the night and the air in the tent is just so humid and can pack if you have, rain fly over it. I know that's a really specific example, but if you know what I'm talking about, that's a very similar feeling, except feel it in your fucking soul. And that's essentially what I'm talking about here, which is just this really, really deep feeling. And if we're looking into the metaphor that I use to explain it, you can almost assume that maybe this feeling I'm getting is some kind of form of stagnation that I feel about a certain emotion. That kind of makes a lot of sense now that I think about it. You know what? I think I just solved my own problem literally 5 minutes into this video, so pat myself on the back for that. But really though, I think that this feeling that I keep getting, that keeps coming up for me, is a stagnant emotion that I have to deal with, which I think the problem is that I'm not being super aware enough of seeing what that emotion is when it comes up, because it keeps hitting me randomly. But if you follow me on my channel, you know that I don't find things random at all. And if anything, I'm thinking that this is probably me just unfolding some big information about myself in really subtle ways that I'm just unaware of until I'm looking for it. Okay, now this makes sense, and now I feel like I have to explain this to you guys, because I probably sound like I've made a lot of jumping conclusions without making much sense yet. So here's the thing. I just noticed, as I was explaining it to you guys, I get this existential feeling, just a terrible foreboding, life-sucking feeling in my soul. And I can recognize that it's kind of this stagnant, a mental, emotional feeling that I'm getting about a certain subject, which, like I said, I haven't really dived into what that is yet. But as I've said before, when you're looking into your shadow and everything, a lot of the time it's just gonna show up as this bad mood or scary monster that pops up for no reason, but the reason's actually there if you look into it, which I'm gonna have to look further into this. But that being said, you know so much because you get this strong, inexplicable feeling. And I've actually posted about this on my Catalyst Healer account, and somebody specifically asked, how do you know what to do about these intuitive feelings that you might get? And that's the thing, is that intuition just kind of speaks for itself. And for me, anytime I get in those modes of, like I said, this weird claustrophobic, deep-rooted, panic kind of feeling, I go outside. I immediately go outside and get a breath of fresh air. And I think, like I said, that is really symbolic in itself. And maybe why I decided to talk about this in a video today. Okay, I need to explain why I'm so shocked about my own thoughts right now. And it's because so many times I find that I will make really small, simple decisions that I take my time on making, but for the most part, I don't think way too much about. And then I all of a sudden stumble upon an epiphany or a climax point where I'm oh, that makes sense. And I feel like part of the reason why this whole epiphany just got filmed for you to see is because sometimes some of the worst things you go through are the exact catalyst you need to get to a better place overall in your life. And I have learned that time and time again. Literally, dude, I'm gonna have to write a book about some of the ups and downs that I've experienced in my life. I'm talking amazing, crazy good luck to absolute chaos and failure and just constantly going like this. And that is life in a way. You know, we fall into these states of chaos and, you know, panic and disappointment and confusion, but it's only trying to lead you to a more stable place. And for me, a lot of the time, I'm resistant to that. I think we all are. And that's what I was talking about with this whole stagnant energy, stagnant emotion, this stagnant thought that I run into that I don't even recognize that I run into. I think of it like a funnel almost, where you just kind of end up getting into these thought patterns and situations even sometimes, you know, if you're that unconscious with it, which thankfully I try not to be. I try not to like physically do things unless, like I said, I've actually sat on it and thought about it a lot. Shout out to my Aries Saturn for learning something over the past few years, but I've noticed so much about what I'm doing in every small moment amounting to something so much bigger if I actually give it credit for that. And even these small existential moments, like I knew that there was a point to it and I couldn't think about why. And literally as I'm talking to you guys, trying to talk about how I don't know why, I figure out why. And that's life, just trusting it. And this is another thing that I talked about yesterday on my Instagram, where sometimes you just need to trust things. Sometimes you just need to trust even if you're afraid to trust. And for me, I was honestly kind of afraid to trust myself to even talk about this, because I was like almost certain that I was going to come on here and just make a fool of myself, because once again, welcome to being a Virgo. I don't know why I have all of these worries coming up all of a sudden. My God, y'all, like, you know, and maybe that's important to talk about too. Just the fact that I am literally the most happy and successful I have ever been in my life. I have amazing friends. I have a community that I love and that supports me. I am literally living my dream job in multiple facets. Like, I've had multiple dream jobs in my life and I feel like I'm living them out in all of their like most unique ways, and I'm just fucking thriving with it, dude. But there's still just a part of me that is like breathing down my neck that's like, I don't know if you're good enough. I don't know. And it's like, yes, you do. You've made it this far. And it's like, how do you make it this far and still doubt yourself? But that's the thing, like I was saying, the fluctuation, baby. It's the non-linear healing path of life that they always talk about, you know? Like, you just will get so high and mighty and you'll feel so secure and you're like, I built this. But guess what? When you build something sturdy and secure, that just creates a platform for you to free fall and jump off of, so you can learn to build something else. You know, you take a venture and a risk off of the platform that you build. And sometimes that's the hardest part of the endeavor, is being able to take that jump again once you've already created that stability within yourself. And for me, I found things that work, that feel good for me and that I know work for me. But at the same time, part of me is getting in my own way, because I'm like, well, if you go outside of the lines here, you know. But then that's the thing, isn't it? If it comes back to that whole like stagnation energy, like I was saying earlier, if I'm trying to keep myself within the lines and that's kind of like this background voice, yet it's also the voice that's giving me this kind of impending doom sort of feeling, then like, you know, that's how you differentiate these things. I feel like this is how I solve my problem. And I feel like it's no coincidence that I'm doing this in front of you guys, so you can also see too that like the answers are right in front of you if you really let them and put them together. I might look like Charlie Kelly right now in the mailroom, where there's a whole lineup of ideas and connections that he's made, but sometimes that's truly what you have to do to make the next step forward, and that's okay. You can be creative. And I feel like society has kind of scared the creativity out of people in a lot of different ways, to the point where they feel like they have to come correct. But I think a lot of what we're learning, like I was saying with this whole Aquarius transit that we've got going on, as well as the North Node in Gemini, I feel like this is reminding us all that we're all learning. We're all going about things in a different way and learning how to piece things together in different ways. So take it easy on everybody, including yourself. And like what I said earlier, and like I am trying to do in my situation right now, you almost just have to trust that things are going to stumble into the right situations and the right placements, even if it's not the most graceful way you've ever done anything. You know, learning isn't graceful, and I think we kind of forget that sometimes, because this world has been so focused on mastery or perfection for so long. But honestly, in a really idolized and delusional way, you know, perfection is not what it appears. And I feel like a lot of what I'm realizing, and what I can tell collectively we're all realizing, is that the more creative you are in expressing yourself and understanding things, the more you're going to feel tapped into you and your own personal understanding of things and how things resonate for you, so you can learn and grow at a completely different rate than what you've ever seen possible before. I mean, I know so many people that said that they grew an exponential amount over quarantine because what? You had the time to do so. You were with yourself. You had the ability to delegate your time, your energy to do certain things, to surround yourself with certain energies. So now that you've learned from that, it's a matter of allowing yourself to jump off from that platform and, you know, express it. And I feel like that's where I'm coming from, y'all. That's what I've had to learn too. And I think part of what I've just been afraid to move through sometimes, you know, sometimes it's just hard to accept the next step in the journey. And I feel like for me, that's been a lot of where I've been in not only my mental health journey, but in my spiritual journey and in my like career journey and everything like that. Like I said, when you've built something up to become something and it finally becomes that, it feels so good. But at a certain point, you're going to start feeling that really intense pull. And it might not be existential like what I was feeling, but I tend to feel things in rather extremes. And for me, like I said, this just mimics this stagnant thing that I need to change. And a lot of the time I've noticed that changes the directive of where I'm putting my energy. And if we know anything about the human condition, it is that humans are just so resistant to change. Even the people like me who crave it literally all the time. So I guess in conclusion, I literally kind of blacked out and forgot what I said in this video. This is how I deal with existential dread. This is literally how I try to cope with my emotions and my problems and any kind of dark, stagnant emotion feeling that I get. I try to think it through and feel what it might be trying to tell me on, you know, a symbolic level pretty much. And this kind of goes back to a video I made a while ago about life being like really deep but also not that deep. Like, you gotta take things seriously sometimes, but at a certain degree it's just like whatever, you know? And I'm not gonna lie, I used to take existential, terrible, dreadful, panicky feelings really seriously to the point where it took me down. I mean, as always, I just encourage people to watch my mental health journey video because that will tell you a lot about the kind of journey that I've been on with my mental health and how I've just not always been where I'm at now. And I'm proud of that because I've done things like I'm talking about in this video constantly to the point where it's just kind of second nature now. And I'm not completely pushed into a hole because of these feelings that, you know, I sometimes will experience on a daily basis, like I started off saying in this video. And I think it's worth noting too that, like I was saying, I'm at the happiest point in my life right now. I genuinely cannot explain how satisfied I am with my life right now, yet I'm still dealing with these really weird, panicky, anxious feelings and imposter syndrome or just other things in my life. But for whatever reason, I just trust that there's a reason for that. And recently I heard somebody say something like, not everything happens for a reason, but you can give it a reason or something like that. And I kind of agree with that. But more in the idea of everything is kind of what you make it. And if you let things guide you into a more understanding place, a lot of the times I feel like you're going to find that epiphany and understanding, but you have to let yourself get there. And trust me, I understand a lot of the time that can be just absolutely scary to even try. That's essentially why I wanted to share this video with you guys, in case other people experience this and need a little encouragement, that you can figure out your weird feelings, and they're probably not as crazy as they may seem. They might just be you needing to move on from things that aren't as big as they may seem. So that's something worth noting, but I'm gonna go. So if you like this little chit chat, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and of course subscribe to my channel for more random content like this. And yeah, check out my other social medias linked down below. Otherwise, I will see you guys in a later video. Peace.